This is nervous system healing for caregivers and high achievers. So I know this is going to resonate with you because that is what the audience is. You're all women on a mission, you're purpose driven, you're deeply feeling, you're caregiving, you're nurturing, all the things. And this is our first emotional mastery spotlight. And I'm really excited to bring in Tiffany Homan for you because she is a nurse and a somatic experiencing practitioner. And she's been doing this for years. And this is going to be something new moving forward. So I'm going to be bringing in coaches, healers, women on a mission, just like you, to share value in this community because we want it, we need it, and we need each other on this journey. A lot of you are entrepreneurs. Me and Tiffany were just talking about this, and entrepreneurship is what we don't know is a healing journey. It's going to bring up everything in your body that you never knew was there. And it's going to challenge you like you've never been challenged. And we need each other on this journey. So I'm just so excited to be here. And for those of you that are new to even me, I'm Amy Colombo. I'm a nurse. I'm an emotional mastery coach. I'm a single mother to 3 boys. And I now have, been doing this for 5 years. And it's amazing and it's freaking hard, but we love it. So get ready, grab your coffee, and feel free to talk amongst yourselves in the chat, drop questions. We're going to be answering them. And yeah, we are here for you. So with that, let's go. Tiffany, I'm so happy you're here. Please introduce yourself. And with that introduction, let us know a little bit of your story from nurse to somatic experiencing coach and how you landed here.
Woo. Okay. I am so excited to be here with you guys today, Amy. Thank you so much for inviting me into this conversation. As Amy said, my name is Tiffany Homan. I am a board certified nurse coach, just like Miss Amy, and I am also a somatic experiencing practitioner. And truly, to bring you back to how the heck I got here, because I ask this question to myself so often. And truly, when I was working as a nurse at the bedside, I was primarily working in the emergency department. And I had been there at the time for about 7-ish years. And to be honest, I actually really, really enjoyed it. I'm a phenomenal nurse. I never ever thought I would end up in the emergency room, and it was so perfect for me at that time. But in my personal life, I was really navigating through so much. And I joke so often about social media and about TikTok, but truly, that is really what ended up starting me on my journey. So I ended up coming across a video that really stopped me in my tracks. Because you see, I was living this beautiful life that I had dreamed about for so long, right? I had this amazing husband who, God bless his soul, loved every single part of me, both shadow and light. I had 2 beautiful babies. I was building a home that I had only dreamed of. And yet there was still a part of me that was really, really struggling and so stinking sad. And I couldn't understand it, right? It felt like such a mismatch to me. I'm living this life that I dreamed about, and I should be so happy, right? I should be frolicking through the flowers and just feeling so fulfilled by my life. And yet the reality was it was such a different experience for me. And so the reason I mentioned TikTok is because I ended up scrolling across this video that started to talk about different forms of emotional abuse, mental abuse, narcissistic abuse. And a really big part of my story is prior to my current marriage, I was married prior. And I had thought I had dealt with all of that, right? Like I had left the relationship. It had been 7 years since I had been in that experience. And remember, I told you I'm like living this dream life. And yet I felt so awful. And so in that moment, there was kind of like this come to Jesus experience of like, oh, maybe you've actually been suppressing a lot more than you've recognized. And so it ended up really putting me on this trajectory into my own personal development and really entering into my own self-healing journey. And so I started to really fall in love with it, and I started to do more and more and more research as us little overachievers do, right? And I felt like I was like, hand to God, I'm like, I am healed. I watched all of the TikTok videos. I read the book, like, your girl is healed, right? And I was so excited about that. And I knew there was like a part of me that wanted to bring this work out into the world. And I didn't really know what that meant because your girl fought tooth and nail to become a nurse, right? I became a nurse actually during my experience of my divorce. Like it took a lot for me to become a nurse, and I was proud of being a nurse. And yet I felt like there's still something that's missing. And I knew it was supporting people who had walked similar walks that I had. And so I kind of went down this rabbit hole of figuring out what does that look like, right? Is it becoming a therapist? Is it looking into life coaching, even though I didn't really know exactly what that meant at the time? And I ended up stumbling across nurse coaching, and there was like this thing that just lit inside of me. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but like, I feel like it's a part of my path, right? And there's a whole lot of hoops that I had to jump through to really overcome the fear of even investing in myself. That was so foreign to me. I'm like, I'm going to invest into myself, and what is this going to look like? Never did I ever imagine myself being an entrepreneur. In fact, I watched my parents be entrepreneurs, and I was like, nope. I'm not going to do that because I saw what they really had to navigate. And yet, I still felt this really strong pull to move towards it, even though I didn't know exactly what that was going to look like. And I'm so stinking happy that I did because the part of me that really thought she had been healed from watching TikToks had only scratched the surface. And so this ended up really inviting me to go deeper within myself and eventually led me to entrepreneurship, which, hello, that is still crazy for me to say today. And as I completed that program and entered into entrepreneurship, I still found myself bumping up against so many different obstacles that had to do with things I experienced in my past. And I was mad, like mad. I was frustrated. I didn't understand. I was like, I'm saying the affirmations. Like, I've read the books. I'm doing the inner work. I don't get it, right?
Yes.
Why am I still saying the same story that happened over 7 years ago at this point? I have a beautiful life. I have two kids. I have this amazing husband. Why am I still experiencing some of the fears that I felt in my past relationship? And why are they playing out in my business? And so I remember sharing that with my coach at the time and her feeling like she had kind of come to her edge of where she could support me in that specific experience. And she actually really encouraged me to reach out to someone that she had worked with God bless her soul. I am so, so thankful to have met her. And she was a somatic experiencing practitioner. And you guys, at the time when I was recommended to meet with this practitioner, I had no idea what that meant. This was definitely a trust moment in my coach who was really encouraging me and could see some of the things that I couldn't see and knew that they weren't the person to support me in it at that moment and that it was really blocking me in my business. So, as the good student that I've always been, I said, okay, I trust you. I trust your guidance. And so I'm going to talk with this person. And so I remember feeling really hesitant because, again, I had no idea what a somatic experiencing practitioner was. And yet I was going to lead with trust.
Hmm.
And so I remember in that moment when I got onto the call with this amazing human, her name is Sarah, and I owe so much to her, still not knowing what the heck I was doing, right? She started to talk with me about some of the experiences that I had and started to talk with me about when we're in session or when we're in a container, we're really going to be guiding ourselves back to what the experience of the body is. And I'm like, huh? What the heck does that mean? I have a body, right? Like logically, it didn't really make sense to me. And yet there was something, now I know it was something I was feeling in my body that was saying, yes. And so I ended up really following that nudge. And I ended up being a receiver of this work. And it radically changed my life. I could see so many things that I was navigating up against that absolutely had to do with my body and with my nervous system and with what I was experiencing and how I was really playing out some of these stories again and again and again, even though I wasn't currently experiencing them in that very moment. And so the more I ended up experiencing this work, the more I recognized that this was going to be a part of my path, especially with the work that I was providing my clients at that time.
Mhm.
And so, flash forward, we ended up entering into the Somatic Experiencing Program, which is a lengthy program. And I haven't looked back, and it has become a really big pillar in the way that I serve my clients, in the way that I serve in communities. And it has changed everything for me. It's changed everything for me in my personal life, in my professional life, and in all of my relationships. Really learning how to understand what is showing up within my body and how I move throughout the world and how much that impacts the moves that we do make.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for sharing that whole story. And I love like all the pieces. I can tell that you are one who listens to what your body is telling you. And it's interesting to see you on that journey, even back when you were a nurse. I like that you said, I had this beautiful life because, when we enter entrepreneurship, I think a lot of us feel that same kind of a nudge, whether we're really burnt out in nursing and we want something different, or like for my personal story was like I was fine as a nurse, but like that was it. Like I was fine. And
Yeah.
like I moved into this because this was me actually deciding like I'm worthy of following a dream, and this would be kind of like a dream. So, with that said, where I want to go to is kind of connect for us. Like you mentioned the stories playing out in your business from like 7 years ago, right? And just kind of tell us a little bit, Tiffany, about what you know about that. Because I think a lot of people, well, none of us know that. I think of entrepreneurship as it's like motherhood. Like no one can prepare you for motherhood. No matter all the stories, books you've read, you will be rocked to your core. And entrepreneurship is kind of the same way. And the same thing's happening, right? In both areas. Like this past trauma is showing up, these stories are playing out. And there's this conscious mind that can see it and doesn't know how to like stop it. Like you feel like you got one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. So if you could kind of tell us from a nervous system perspective, from a somatic perspective, what is happening when those stories keep showing up 7 years later, 10 years later in different areas of life? And you feel like, you can see it, but you can't fucking change it. Like it's so frustrating, right? Like it's the most frustrating. Like you come to this point where you're just like, holy shit, I finally am ready to invest thousands of dollars because I need help, right?
Yeah.
Like what is happening from like a body perspective and nervous system perspective?
Yeah. This is a really, really great question. And so the biggest thing that I always like to share is our story will always match the state of our nervous system. Okay. And so here's what I really mean by that. It is one thing to have the ability to talk about what is happening in your life. And your girl can talk, okay? And I'm good at it, right? I love a good story. I'm very logical. I think the majority of my clients, which are nurses, which hello everyone who is also
Mm-hmm.
here, we can tend to be very heady, right? And so we find ourselves talking about our frustrations, talking about parts of our past, but that's only a piece of the puzzle. And so it wasn't until I really started to slow down as I was sharing and recognizing that it actually wasn't even so much about the story of my words. It was actually what is showing up from here down. And you guys, as nurses, we we learn how to disconnect from
Mm-hmm.
here down. Why? Why do we do this? Right? We do this because it helps us have the ability to move throughout our shifts and not be taken out oftentimes by really emotionally charged things, right? Really frustrating things. I've had people die under my hands, right? And I've had to keep a very stoic face in order to show up to the next room and show up to the next room and show up to the next room, right? That was kind of a requirement for me in order to keep going. And so when it really came to this place of like, what am I actually experiencing within my body and learning how to actually notice what that even was, because I didn't, right? Our bodies don't speak through words. They speak through sensations, emotions, movements, right? And so when I really started to share some of my story and I was really guided into slowing down and feeling into what was happening, these things that were playing out in my business that I didn't think were stopping me, I could actually notice a huge disconnect in my body, right? And this is where we
Mm-hmm.
say dreams and desires and our capacity to hold them are two different things. So we
Mm-hmm.
can dream about so much, right? And so for me, that dream and that desire was like, at the moment, was like, I want to build a business and I want to keep pouring into my family and I want to keep doing all these really, really beautiful things. And yet my capacity to hold love, support, receivership was so not there, right? So many of us who are caregivers, are overachievers, we're really good at attuning to everyone else but ourselves. It's what makes
Mm-hmm.
us such phenomenal nurses, phenomenal caregivers. I can predict what people need before they even ask. Made me really great at my job. But
Mm-hmm.
when it came to really building a business, I was constantly outsourcing from a place of fear, from feeling really frozen and not having
Mm-hmm.
the ability to notice what was actually alive in my body. And then
Mm-hmm.
how do I support myself through it? Right. And so the more strategy I was given, right, the more frozen I felt. And
Yes.
I couldn't figure that out. And this is again where you can't just talk your way out of it. You have to show your system that you're okay enough to make a move. So we hear the word a lot around creating safety, right? And so it's starting to also differentiate for ourselves what is actually safe. And this is why I say I'm okay enough to experience what is happening and deciphering it from what actually feels familiar. And so for
Mm-hmm.
me, I was moving towards the familiar. And what felt familiar to me was like this toxic experience that I had in my past relationship, right? I was actually really fighting against all of the love that my husband gave me, even though we'd been together up until that point for over 5, 6 years. I was fighting it tooth and nail because I had never actually allowed myself to feel okay enough to receive it. It felt like a threat, right? It was like,
Mm.
and so these same things were playing out in my business. Every time a client would reach out, it was like is this actually going to work? Right. And so even
Mm.
though I desired it, I'm like, I want the business now. I lied. Like, okay, this is for me. I was constantly fighting it. And even when I had clients and finances coming in and stability being created, I found myself often with my blanket over my head, sobbing, saying, this isn't for me. Because what did you
Yeah.
say? Entrepreneurship brings all of our shadows, peels back all of the scars or scabs that we thought were like fully healed. And it shows us where we get to really strengthen. And it invites us in. And nervous
Mm.
system work supports us with that because we're not just worrying about saying, like, I'm an amazing entrepreneur and people are paying me, thousands and thousands of dollars and I'm a sought out expert. Because if your body is constricted and your body is actually frozen, not just the I'm fine,
Mm.
really good at that.
Mm.
I'm
I
fine.
love that.
Everything's fine. How's your day going? It's amazing. How's business? So good. When in actuality, right, if I really brought attention to the lower half of my body, right, there was constriction in my belly. There was bracing in my breath. I was walking around like, so it's like no wonder every time I went to make a move, I'd end up running back 10 because my body couldn't handle it. It was like,
I, oh God, you just so much there. I know so many of the women are resonating with that. I know I'm resonating with that. And, I hope that that kind of sheds some light on what I know a lot of you are experiencing right now. Because, right, one foot on the brake, one foot on the gas. And you just said, like, from the neck up and the neck down, we got two different things happening. And
yep,
the neck down is going to kind of win every time because, right, our nervous system, our subconscious mind is in our body, like you said. So, oh, that was so good. Where I want to take us to now is I think I'm thinking of like what people are thinking, like, so kind of like, what do I do? So, like, when you have this awareness, what is like the first step? Because you mentioned slowing down, and I think high achievers, nurses, caregivers, entrepreneurs, like, slow the fuck down. What? No, like, I've got a million things to do. I've got kids, right? It's like we're being told to slow down when we've got more on our plate than ever. It's such a crazy thing to how do I do that? So I'm just curious, like, how do we do that, Tiffany? Like, how do we slow down? And like, how do we start practicing this and bringing it into different areas of life? And like, how is being conscious from our neck down going to help us move forward, like in our business or receive love in a relationship, right? Just kind of like tell us a little bit about what's like the first step.
yeah. I think that's a really, really great question because I know when I heard this idea of slowing down, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I have two kids under two, right? Like I'm trying to build a business like
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Because in my mind, when I heard the idea of like slowing down, and we can replace that word with even like practicing presence, in my mind, it's
Mm.
actually better. Because for me, that word was like, okay, well, if I have to be slow, forget it. Like I'm never going to be able to do this because I move very quickly. And so when I actually really started practicing presence, and this did not all happen at once, right? Creating presence and learning how to prep our system. So I could walk through what that actually looks like or drop it in the chat later. Prepping our system is the number one thing that we can be doing, in my opinion, and practicing presence throughout your day, throughout your business by doing small somatic check-ins. So what do I mean by that? Because
Yeah.
for me, I felt very when I started to be introduced to this idea, because I'm like, if I add one more thing to my freaking plate, I can't do it. If I have to meditate, do yoga, like forget it. I can't even I have a kid pulling my ear, someone's sitting on my forehead, someone's yelling about a baseball cleat. Like that felt actually more activating to me. Now, don't get me wrong, these things are amazing when you have the capacity, right? And so I really started to approach this work as, how do I make my life a somatic practice, right?
Mm.
How do I practice presence in the small micro moments? Because we can't be present 24/7. We would actually be like flooded by all of
Yeah.
the stuff within our system, but it's creating more capacity to be with what is showing up when things do show up, right?
Mm.
So this isn't a right or wrong. And for my overachievers, because this was hard for me, I'm like, I failed. No, right? This is a skill that we're continuously building. I'm continuously building. I'm devoted to this work and I still have to practice it. So I want to
Hmm.
name that, right? And I have this water next to me, right? And like, this is a really great place to start. Can I pick my water bottle up? Because we all have our comfort water bottles, right? Like we love them, we have them, or your coffee mug, whatever that looks like. Yes,
Hmm.
right? And it's like, can I, as I'm even picking it up, like notice the weightedness of it in my hands? Like, can I actually connect with that? Can I notice the texture? Can I notice if there's a sound, right? Can I engage some of my senses? Cool. What is it like for me to bring it to my lips and just prior to drinking it, can I just see what happens? And then can I go ahead and just do that? I know it's weird, right? And can I notice the sensation as whether it's the coolness or the warmth, whatever's in your cup? Can I actually notice that? And can I see what happens? Is there any other part of my body that I begin to notice?
I love this. I hope every woman has her coffee or water bottle in her hands because this is so doable.
Yes.
I
I
love it.
I want to make this work so super simple to where we can infuse it into your life and we're not adding to your already so full plate, right? And like this is the power of when we are infusing the somatic work, the nervous system navigation into our life. My life is a somatic practice. Yes, I have other things we can do and we can deepen 1000%, but this is like the number one thing that I'm always focusing on. When I'm
Mm.
noticing some discomfort because my child's frustrating me, like, can I sit with that even if it's for one more second? Just like when you go to the gym and you're lifting weights, it's the same thing with practicing presence and the ability to stay. Safety is not, I do not feel discomfort, and people confuse that.
Mm.
Safety, creating true safety is I'm okay enough. I have chills in my body. I'm okay
Mm.
enough to stay in this moment and not run. And that's what I was doing in my business.
Mm.
I was running because I felt uncomfortable, because I felt very familiar things that I felt in my business, which were not true, right? I was like, oh my God, I'm in this toxic relationship. I'm waiting. I'm not. They're telling me I'm this. It felt so freaking familiar. And what did my body want to do in those moments? Because your body, the way it completes the stress cycle is it will try to actually do what it never got to do, right? Trauma isn't always what happens to you,
Oh,
it's what didn't get to happen. And so for me, it was running away. I wanted to run
mm,
away, and I eventually did, but it was actually letting my body know that, experience that, showing it that my business was not my past boyfriend.
mm. God, I love that. That is like mic drop right there.
Ah, that was hard
Ah,
for me to learn, Amy. It took
mm,
me
mm.
time.
Yeah. Oh, so powerful. It just brings up, I have literally said this catchy phrase like get your mommy, get your daddy out of your business because those past wounds come in.
Oh, yeah.
But like the staying, like the being present with the discomfort, with
Yep.
taking a sip of water, you
Yep.
know, practicing presence. I think of like being in a line where we're normally annoyed and like, can you even just like not take your phone out while you're on a line and like practice that presence? And ooh, that was so powerful.
Mhm.
How does
Yeah.
these little somatic practices of right not taking your phone out on a line or literally noticing your water as you drink it,
Yep.
how does that translate into breaking out of the patterns we're in of the running? Because that is so key. And right, like I want to even say like what does running look like, because what it looks like for me is different for you, right? We've got all these like running, which are those protective patterns,
Yep.
but how do these little somatic practices, Tiffany, like kind of make a better business, make a better romantic relationship?
Oh man, this is,
Mm,
yeah. So we come back to this analogy of like entering into the gym, right? We don't just go
yeah.
to the gym if we've never been in the gym and all of a sudden just pick up 150-pound dumbbells, right? What's going to actually happen is we're going to oftentimes create an injury, right? We're going to pull a muscle. We're going to end up not being able to go to the gym even longer, right? And
Mm,
so when we're doing these small little practices multiple times throughout the day, consistently, we're building up our capacity again to experience life even more and our businesses and all of what it provides, right? And so you heard me say, like, I wanted to flee, right? I was
mm,
fighting my business, I was running from my business. And the more I had the ability to stay, right? Awareness is like the number one thing that we have to have. We cannot change what we're not aware of, but
mm,
that's only a piece of the puzzle. So when I become aware, because I was aware, I'm like, you're running from your business, right?
mm,
That's awareness. Then actually being in the body. What's happening for me as I notice this thought coming through that I want to run? What happens for me as I stay a little bit longer? I then get to create a new choice point, right? So when we're actually staying within the body and we're noticing what's happening, I have a decision to make, right? It's like,
mm,
okay, I'm here, I'm noticing this is uncomfortable. Okay. I don't like this. This is
mhm,
where I say, and I'll say this often to my clients, can you stay even if it's just for 1 second longer? Oftentimes, the answer is yes, but there are moments where it's like, actually, it's too much. Amazing. That's really good information for us to know. And this is where I move into the R in prep. We then get to resource ourselves, right?
mhm.
There's internal and external resources, right? So it's like, do I need to call my support person? right? Do I need to call
Mm,
Amy and be like, oh my gosh, like this is what's happening and this is what I'm noticing. Can you hold space for me? Can I
yeah.
figure out who those supportive people are? And if there's no people, do I have animals? Nature, the ocean is such a supportive thing for me. And then internally is like my breath, feeling my feet on the ground, right? Feeling the grass under my feet. So it's resourcing myself, not to just
Mm,
run, but to go, okay, this feels like a lot. Can I let myself be supported? Which this was the hardest thing
mm,
for me to do. This is what I spent so much of the last year of my life deepening in even more, right? Can
mm,
I truly let myself be held exponentially? I had done it, but this was so much bigger. And this is where a lot of people have a hard time. Can I let myself truly be supported? And then how do I want to move? Right. So
mm,
as I create more spaciousness from all those really big things that I was feeling and they begin to settle, then can I decide how I want to move? So it's coming back as well. And it's going, okay, I have some space. Now, what's the move that I want to make, even if it's just one step? Can I
mm.
make one more step? So many of us are like focused on the 50, right? It's like, I want to be over here because we love to dream. We love to do this. But sometimes we also future fuck ourselves.
Oh, that is another mic drop. There's going to be a lot of quotes from this.
Yeah.
I love that word, like
Yeah.
future fuck ourselves. And okay, so the process is awareness, observation,
Yep.
and then choice, right?
Yep.
And it reminds me of that quote by Viktor Frankl in his book about like between stimulus and response is
Mhm.
like you've got it like 1 second, half a second between stimulus
Yep.
and response, and that's where all
Yes.
your power is, right? Is in our choice.
Yep.
And you speaking to a bunch of women who are caregivers, who give endlessly, who I don't need support, I don't need help, like I'm the one who helps, I'm the one who gives. So apparently, now there's skills we need to build of resourcing ourselves, but also being willing to ask for help, which is so interesting, Tiffany, because how many of us are just believing a story that we have to do this all on our own and there's something wrong with us, right?
Yep.
So I kind of wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
just like, in the interest of time, I want to ask you one more question. If you could just share like some of maybe like one or two of like kind of like the coolest transformations that you've seen. Because what I've found with this work is that like these little teeny tiny, right? Like life is in those small moments of just like being present with your water bottle. And so are the little transformations, those little tiny micro 1% more. So if you could just share kind of like what are the coolest or maybe one or two of the coolest transformations you've seen from doing this work with women?
Yeah. Mm. There have been so many like micro moments. And of course, I will always say, like, I am my biggest walking
Mm,
testimony. And so, like, a part of me wants to like share some of the cool stories that like I have gotten to witness. But like the biggest thing that's coming through for me is actually like my walk last year. Um,
mm,
I walked through a really severe car accident. I also was severely septic back in December. I'm actually still recovering. And a huge part of my journey and my experience was implementing this work in real time. And up until that point, I had really been utilizing that work or this work to process things in my past and support me in my business as well in this past year, really utilizing all of these different tools, the things that I've been sharing with you about today, and so much more is literally the reason why I'm alive today. And,
mm,
I walked through broken bones, a liver that got detrimentally affected from sepsis. And, that actually wasn't the hardest thing for me to walk through. Like the thing that actually truly almost took me out was allowing myself to be so deeply held by my husband, my friends, my family, my community. And that
Mm,
actually felt like I was taking more blows to my body in that moment. And I remember each and every time that I was walking through something, I was so thankful for the way in which my body showed up and having the ability and the knowledge of this work. I am my biggest transformation. And that absolutely has um, rippled out into my family. I mean, seeing my husband walk beside me, with me, and the depth of the transformation I have seen him go through, even though he's not directly in this work. This was a really big fight of ours. I'm like, do the work. I want you to do it. Right. And that was my own insecurity. And that in itself, like seeing him and my kids and seeing the way in which this also affects my clients and the transformation that they get to see. But I will always say that me and my family and my kids are like if I got nothing more, if I had to leave this work today, I won because
mm.
of the growth and the transformation I've had in myself and my family.
Oh, gosh, that's so powerful, Tiffany. I love that. And I say that actually all the time too. It's actually something that I say that I will never regret this journey, no matter what happens, because I mean, just the bravery that this takes, the massive healing and personal growth that occurs, the way when you commit to getting even 1% better every day, 1% more present, more grounded, how that translates into your relationships, like you mentioned. I mean, oh my gosh, the transformations that I see. I just want to share like one of,
Yeah.
because I do similar work but different, but like just this is an example. Like my client reached out to me and she's like, I listened to my voice memo that I record, at work on her answering machine, and she's like, I actually liked my voice for the first time in my whole life. And this is someone like that's almost 60 years old.
Yeah.
And like that's like the type of thing she's like, I actually know that I love myself, is what she said. And like that's kind of like what I think happens when you start getting present with your body and you stop making yourself a problem, right? And you start just
Yeah.
deciding that you are actually empowered with choice to make new choices, even though it's hard. And, before we kind of like wrap up, Tiffany, I am curious, like when you think of like length of time, because I think some women might be thinking like, how long is it going to take, right? How long does it take to change? Like, just generally, what would you say to that? Like, generally, when do people start seeing shifts and changes and transformations in your container when they start committing to this work?
Yeah. I think it's such a customized answer because so many people bring in such different things. But if I were saying like people who had never ever experienced this type of work, in my opinion, at least 6 months, you will start to notice drastic differences. And then when we're working together, even beyond, I mean, I'm so fortunate that I've gotten to support some of my clients for 6 months up to 2 years. I've gotten to walk in their journey. And again, it's like it's not necessarily that, just like you were sharing, like life all of a sudden, like everything's different, but you're different in the way that you approach things and the way that you see yourself and the way that you show up, setting boundaries, having the ability to like speak what you've always wanted to say and maybe never got a chance to. Like, it's amazing to see what happens when you continuously show up in this work, but it's deep work. So, which is why I say usually 6 months, you'll start to really see a difference in the way that you relate to your life and to yourself.
There anything that you want to share that maybe we didn't get to? And then I would love for you to share with everyone how they can contact you and work with you, because I just have a feeling people are going to want to work with you after this.
It. Well, I mean, the only thing that's coming through for me is I know like what a big heart you have for nurses as well, and like so do I. And I remember when I started this journey and feeling like so disconnected and like wondering like where like how do you do this entrepreneurial journey um when your whole life like you've been a part of some sort of team, and also really wanting to see the way in which we show up in the medical field be different, right? Because I know you, I know so many of your viewers are like phenomenal nurses. Like we wouldn't be here doing this work if we weren't. And I truly believe like when we can devote ourselves to this work and we can really cultivate like an awesome community and be supportive to one another, that we can change the industry as we know it. And it does start with us. Like, I want to see somatic practitioners, confidence coaches, like in the hospital system, in the bedside. Like, what a cool place to be in if we had people like us who were so deeply devoted to this work supporting in the system. And I think we will get there, but we have to work together. And so I think it's so cool that you are, starting this series and that I get to be
Mhm.
here because I watch you and I watch the way that you show up for yourself and for those in your community, and it's so cool to watch. And so I'm just excited that I got to be a part of that.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Tiffany. I'm so happy you came here and shared what you shared. Let everyone know how they can find you, how they can contact you and work with you.
Yeah. Yeah. The best place to find me, I hang out a lot on Facebook. I'm under Tiffany
Hmm.
Homan. I also have a Facebook group community that I try to go live in and share lots of nervous system nuggets in there. And that is, I want to say it's Breaking Free with Tiffany Homan. Um, it's pinned at the top of my Facebook page. And then Instagram, I'm also in there as well, and I'm under Tiffany Homan Coaching. Those are the best two places to find me. I'm super active on there. Come say hi. Come let me know what you took away from this. I love a good question. So if things come up, please drop them down there in the chat, and I will be happy to answer anything that shows up for you guys.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tiffany. You were a gift today, and you just dropped some really beautiful things. So it's slowing down, which doesn't mean being slow, it just means being present. And presence can literally start with you noticing what your water bottle feels like in your hand, what the drink feels like going down. I loved that. I love that practice. I'm going to start doing that. That is something I can do today. Anyone can do today. Um, yeah. And just if you're feeling that disconnect from up here to down here, just know that there is hope, there is help, there is a way to change that. And I just want to say that you're so worth it. So thank you, Tiffany. Thank you to everyone that hung out with us. Drop your questions. Tiffany will leave all her contact information on the post. And with that, say goodbye.